The best, most seductive domination is not just about giving commands or administering maintenance spankings. True dominance is about much more than that and requires some skills you likely haven't heard discussed before. So if you want to discover the 10 best ways to step into your dominance, hit that subscribe button and let's jump into it today. Now, these 10 points are in no particular order, but we do need to start with safety. There are so many consent standards in kink, including the explicit SSC, that requires the presence of enthusiastic consent to ensure safety. But remember, consent isn't the only benchmark for abuse. And that is why I insist upon my full definition of consent, which includes a completely mindful, willing, and uncoerced choice to say yes, and the ability to revoke that yes at any time without fear of repercussions. But consent is simply one element of safety. As a dominant, your primary responsibility is to ensure that your submissive feels safe in every aspect of your dynamic, including physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. And I say that this is your primary focus because safety is the foundation to sexual expression. It's the partner who feels fundamentally safe, fully accepted, and truly loved that will do all the kinky fuckery you have in mind. If intimacy, meaning all these amazing, freeing, erotic, sexually expressive encounters with your partner is the goal, that will require vulnerability, which relies upon trust, which cannot be created without safety. Safety, trust, vulnerability, and intimacy. Safety is the key that unlocks wild and unrestrained levels of sexual expression. One of the dominants in my community phrased it perfectly. We want you to feel safe to be naked and in front of people. When you're naked and in submissive positions, etc., you are vulnerable. It speaks to a primal pit in the back of your brain. So in order to be able to do that sort of thing, you have to feel very, very safe. And that all the steps and processes and actions and words up to that point have been focused on reassuring you of that level of safety to be able to perform these naughty things.
Am I scared of getting hit in the face? No. Everyday weirdos pay dominatrixes hundreds of dollars for that very privilege. I'm scared I'm gonna love it.
Understanding the risks involved in any physical act and taking necessary precautions, including learning proper techniques for impact play, bondage, and other kinky acts to avoid causing unintended harm. And there are 3 aspects to this physical safety, in my opinion. The submissive's assurance of the dominant's competencies, assurance of the dominant's understanding of their limits, and assurance of the dominant's respect for those limits. Mental safety is about fostering an environment where the submissive feels free to express themselves without fear of judgment and is assured of consistent communication and fair expectations. The submissive's emotional well-being is also crucial, so we must be mindful of their emotional states and triggers and take the time necessary to build trust. This will ensure that the submissive knows they can share their feelings with you, whether positive or negative, and that you will handle them with respect and have the capacity to empathize and provide care. A solid DS relationship is also built on a healthy and loving relationship as the foundation, where you and your partner genuinely enjoy one another's company, even without the presence of DS roles or kinky sex. And when it comes to providing spiritual safety, this is not about agreement or shared belief. It's about freedom. The submissive must know any expectations placed upon them will not compromise any spiritual practices they may have, and they must have the assurance that they will not be coerced or required to betray or abandon their own beliefs in word or deed. Subsequently, your freedoms end where mine begin, and vice versa. The dominant should also not be required to violate or compromise their belief system to make space for the submissive. And this is why compatibility and thorough negotiation are so important in these relationships with such deep power dynamics. This is also why clear, concise, and consistent communication is necessary. Communication is the backbone of any relationship and is even more critical in a power exchange relationship. So be clear and avoid ambiguity. Be direct about your expectations, desires, and boundaries, dominance. And this means you can't be a people pleaser. You will flounder and fawn, especially with any sort of strong-willed or experienced submissive, if you do not say what you mean and mean what you say. It's also important to be concise, all right? Don't overcomplicate things to sound impressive. Don't add unnecessary complexity to manufacture a non-existent power gap. A simple and strong position communicates much more dominance and authority than a fawning and floundering one. And if you want to learn more on how to increase that power gap and be more dominant in your BDSM relationship without endless punishments, check out my free Dominant Fire series here on YouTube. Just follow the link in this video's description to start watching. It's also important to communicate consistently. This does not necessarily mean scheduling conversations all the time and pushing for feedback immediately after play, doing a debrief immediately during aftercare. Doesn't mean any of that necessarily. This is more about avoiding large gaps in your communication or using ghosting as punishment. All right, and if you want the tools to level up your erotic communication and verbal foreplay, download my erotic communication bundle now on Patreon and get instant access to 200 sexy texts you can send to your submissive and more. And speaking of communication, just like any subculture, BDSM has its own language and varying meanings. So understanding the basics of BDSM lingo is essential for authoritative, dominant communication and navigating the community as a whole, if that's what you're interested in. If you don't know the difference between punishment and punishment, the meaning of a slow word and safe word, and how bottom differs from submissive, you might want to start there with the lingo. All right, check out my BDSM Newbies playlist here on YouTube for over 160 free BDSM educational videos. Perfect if you're a curious vanilla or navigating newbie trying to find your footing and learn the lingo. I'd also recommend my 5-part BDSM Key Concept series where I cover some of the most important foundational lessons in kink. I've put all of the video links in the description below, so be sure to check them out. And this brings me to my next point, which is the importance of continued education and ongoing development. You will not only learn how to utilize high-level domination techniques as you progress, but you will actively demonstrate your humility, which is so attractive. Because here's the thing, humility does not mean lacking confidence. It does not mean being self-critical, does not mean thinking less of yourself. Humility is simply seeing yourself soberly, without the intoxication of ego or pride that blinds you from seeing your wounds, your triggers, your shadow, and your opportunities for healing and growth. Essentially, humility is seeing it all and accepting it all. I'm amazing and I have flaws, Those two realities can coexist. And the willingness to admit you don't know it all and the ability to continue to develop as a dominant is what will lead to an incredible skill set and a deeply devoted submissive. So check out my free 6-part high demand dominant series here on YouTube to take a deep dive into your dominant development, and download any of my incredible kink-friendly content bundles on Patreon. It's also so important to be present with and attentive to your submissive. So you must develop your emotional intelligence here, dominance. Learn about attachment styles, learn about love languages, learn about nonviolent communication, and more, okay? These are just the basics. Being present and attentive will empower you to tune into your submissive's needs, desires, and reaction. You'll be able to read the room better, navigate the energy better, all right? And when they experience this level of presence and attention from you, it's going to activate a deep sense of feeling seen and loved, which will inspire a passionate response and deep, deep devotion. Learn more in my intimacy tips and personal growth playlists for over 130 personal development videos to take your emotional intelligence to a whole new level. Because remember, you don't win submission by spanking or degrading. Those are benefits you receive as a result of submission. Another element of the level of emotional intelligence required for dominance is understanding the importance of empathy and being able to express it. Can you show comfort when they cry? Can you care for your sub when they're ill? Are you able to hold space for them during a trigger or trauma response? Do you have the energetic and emotional capacity to show up for them emotionally with genuine compassion and support? Being able to read your submissive's emotions and respond appropriately is not only a sign of deep emotional intelligence, but it will also provide the submissive with a profound sense of safety and care, stirring up even deeper submissive devotion and erotic expression. But stepping into your dominance is not just about emotional intelligence and awareness as to what the sub wants and needs, while betraying your own wants and needs. That's not what we're talking about here. And that's why dominance, you must first figure out what you want as a dominant. What do you want to experience in play? What do you want to enjoy in your dynamic? Figure out what it is you want. And once you do so, you must prioritize thorough negotiation, limits, and mutual consent. Before you play, initiate negotiation and lead the submissive through a detailed but pressure-free discussion of everyone's boundaries and limits, so that everyone is on the same page and can freely offer or withhold their consent. So, check out my vetting and negotiation playlist for almost 40 videos to get you started. But dominance isn't just about actions and play either. It's a mindset. There are a number of traits like curiosity, confidence, and creativity that are crucial to your ability to take the lead and step into your territory as a dominant. And I have found a specific set of mentalities exists within skilled dominance, and they will help you command, respect, and lead your submissive with authority and care. And in 2 weeks, we'll discuss all 8 mentalities of high-level dominance. So be sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you won't miss a thing. And although the mental game is absolutely crucial, it still needs to be met with action. So as you're building or rebuilding your dynamic, establish rules, rituals, and protocols to create structure and reinforce your roles and expectations. Now, quickly, rules are standards of actions and attitudes expected from the submissive for training and ongoing behavior modification. Rituals are programmed behaviors and responses expected from the submissive according to a set schedule, versus protocols, which are programmed behaviors and responses expected from the submissive when in the presence of the dominant and or to cue their arrival or departure. So we have three main categories of action here. And this action also requires you dominants to build your skills. We've already talked about the importance of ongoing development as a dominant, but this facet of it is more about finding your fun. All right? You will never be inspired to play or craft creative scenes if you're intimidated by the toys or don't enjoy using them. If you don't have a natural interest, you're just going to sit on it. So, what is it that you have a natural interest in? Did you love not working Boy Scouts? Start there. Have you always dreamt of a hunky houseboy in a chastity cage waiting on you hand and foot? Lean into that. Take the time to explore different toys, techniques, and styles of domination, like we talked about last week, that naturally suit you, your desires, your needs, and your natural personality. Whether you enjoy impact play, sensory deprivation, or psychological domination, find what resonates with you. Find your fun and lean into it. So dominants, I hope this freed you from any intimidation or sense of overwhelm you may have been feeling or navigating in your role. And I really hope this encouraged you to step into your power. And like I said earlier, there's a ton of incredible content coming your way over the next few weeks. So be sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you won't miss a thing. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Am I scared of getting hit in the face? No. Every day, weirdos pay dominatrixes hundreds of dollars for that very privilege. I'm scared I'm gonna love it. Let's do this!